Hey guys, welcome back to Movie Recap. Today I will tell you about a horror film called The Quiet Ones. Just leave a like on this video, sit back and relax. In 1974, a student attends the class of Oxford University's Professor Joseph Couland, who wishes to prove that the supernatural does not exist. Couland shows a video of a possessed boy and explains that research will be done to find a cure for this kind of disorder. One of his students, Brian McNeil, is invited to film the experiment process and joins Couland, his two assistants Chrissy Dalton and Harry Abrams, and their subject Jane Harper, a young woman who generates strange phenomena and has been abandoned. Jane is generally kept locked in a room with loud rock music playing during the daytime to prevent her from sleeping in the hopes that the regimen of sleep deprivation will result in increased activity. Once his funding is taken away by an exasperated college board that is both annoyed about the disturbances he makes and his lack of results, Couland and his assistants settle in an isolated house in the countryside to keep experimenting on Jane. Her negative energy takes the form of Evie, an infant doll-like creature that only Jane sees. Couland instructs Jane to transfer her negative energy into a physical doll so they can destroy it. The further the researchers drive Jane to insanity with their methods, the stranger things get around the house. Brian is upset by the way Jane is treated and the lack of ethics in the experiment. Evie's apparitions become increasingly aggressive and Jane begins to harm herself. There are also indicators that any attempt to harm Evie harms Jane. Couland refuses to stop the inhumane experimentation. He is irrevocably convinced that Evie is merely a conventionally treatable parapsychological disorder in Jane's head, but the others become convinced over time that Evie is a true malevolent, supernatural force. Brian and Jane become closer and share a kiss. When the group experience another attack by Evie, Brian goes to Oxford, where he discovers that a symbol that was marked into Jane is from a cult who worshipped a Sumerian demon. They performed experiments on a young girl a few years ago. Their leader believed that Evie Dwyer, a girl with clairvoyant abilities, was the one to bring their idol into the physical world. Everybody in the cult died in a house fire that Evie set, including Evie herself. Brian returns and tells them about the cult, certain that Evie is a demonic presence who is possessing Jane. He convinces Harry and Chrissy, but Couland denies his theory and responds that Evie must be a figment from Jane's past rather than a demonic force. After a heated argument, the group are marked with the same symbol Jane had. An unknown force murders Chrissy and Harry. Jane realizes that she was the little girl that supposedly died in the house fire. She was born with clairvoyant powers and had set the house on fire to kill everyone. The authorities changed her name to Jane to give her a normal life, which is why negative energy is manifesting. Evie is not a demon, she is Jane's real identity, one who can't escape the trauma of her past life. Evie then attacks Brian, only for them both to be knocked out by Couland. When Brian wakes up, he sees Couland give Jane a lethal injection, as he thinks stopping her heart long enough for the negative energy to dissipate will permanently cure her. However, before Couland can prove his theory, Brian subdues Couland and brings Jane back to life. Once revived, Jane locks him out of the room and commits suicide by setting herself on fire. The screen cuts to film footage, apparently from several months later, showing Brian sitting in a chair and holding a camera. An unseen speaker asks him about the deaths, to which Brian replies that everything was captured on film. The speaker replies that there is nothing on the film and that everything in the house, including the films, were destroyed by the fire. When the speaker asks if Brian is responsible, Brian laughs manically and his hand starts to smoke, just as Jane's did. Thanks for watching. Please remember to leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button. You can check out my other videos here.